I've always wondered why people fall for conspiracy theories. I think we've all believed in at least one in our lives, but I especially wonder why people continue to believe in a particular conspiracy theory after they've been shown evidence to the contrary. Some conspiracy theories have a series of complex events that make it easier to continue to be suspicious. For example, the Kennedy assassination. However, some are pretty easy to disprove, such as the Obama birther conspiracy theory. In this video, I'm going to look at what causes people to be prone to certain conspiracy theories, whether it's personal traits we have or things that are happening around us at the time. I'll finish with a list of a few conspiracy theories that I found interesting. Are you a conspiracy theorist? Someone is espousing conspiracy theory while you're quietly drinking that delicious cappuccino in your favorite coffee shop. JFK was killed by the CIA. JFK was killed by the CIA, and his body was given to the Cubans. JFK wasn't assassinated at all, but was abducted by aliens, and the US government is covering it up. You roll your eyes so hard that your head explodes. There's no shortage of conspiracy theories out there. Whether it's space alien abductions, the Kennedy assassination, or Bill Gates planting microchips in our heads, conspiracy theories range from the halfway believable to the crackpot. But why do people believe some of this stuff? Is there something different in the makeup of the conspiracy theorist compared to skeptical humans? I thought I would investigate this mysterious quirk of human nature so that you don't have to. A conspiracy theory is a belief that a person or a group of people are plotting in secret. For example, the government or big pharma, who have some sinister goal in mind. They have something to gain and are only serving their own interests, not yours. Conspiracy theories aren't unique to modern times and have actually been more common in previous moments in history. In light of current events, I know that may be hard for you to believe. During the reign of Nero, conspiracy theories suggested that Rome's emperor had started the Great Fire of Rome in the year 64. One historian claimed Nero was playing the fiddle while his city burned to the ground. Others said Nero wanted to destroy the city so he could build a new palace. Most modern historians don't blame Nero for the fire. In a city of 1 million people, a fire in one building could spread rapidly from one building to another, and there is no way of knowing in which building the fire started. There's no evidence that Nero either started the fire or fiddled while Rome burned. However, not to be outdone, Nero formulated his own conspiracy theory by claiming that it was the Christians who conspired to burn the city. The expression Nero fiddled while Rome burned still lives on to mean that someone is doing something trivial in the face of a disaster. Professor Joseph Usinski, a political scientist at the University of Miami who specializes in conspiracy theories, doesn't see any strong evidence that conspiracy theories are on the rise again in modern times. It may seem that these theories are more prevalent since social media has changed the way in which we get our information. This makes it easier for people who believe in conspiracy theories anyway to not only get information rapidly, but also become consumed by it. It makes it easier for people to go to sources that fit their narrative and disregard the sources that don't. Even if there's no evidence that belief in conspiracy theories has increased, attitudes can become more entrenched. As for me, it sure does seem like there are more people who believe in conspiracy theories, but after all, I too am exposed to social media, which should be obvious since I'm posting stuff on YouTube and Instagram. So maybe I just see it more often, and the number of people who believe in conspiracies isn't much different than it was 30 years ago. More than a quarter of Americans believe there are conspiracies out there. Since these conspiracy theories cause people to believe a lot of things, it's important to understand why some people believe them. Is it in a person's psychological makeup or the events going on around them? Conspiracy theories are tools to help us understand complex events. They offer simple solutions to complex problems. People latch onto them when they need answers in times of stress. That's why conspiracy theories are more common during uncertain and stressful times. A conspiracy theory needs to appeal directly to the people who will be willing to believe it, exactly at a time when they're most likely to believe it, and there needs to be a group or organization to blame. For example, in an environment that includes a pandemic, a close election that involves politicians pushing conspiracy theories, and a country that is divided fits the bill. Other examples of events that may lend themselves to conspiracy theories are assassinations and terrorist attacks. These types of events obviously cause uncertainty and anxiety, and people understandably want answers, so there may be a link between someone's belief in conspiracy theories and crises in their own lives or in society as a whole. Latching onto a conspiracy theory may help a person to believe that they have more control in their own lives, that they have an answer. Between 1890 and 1960, there were 2 times where conspiracy theories were more common. These were times when the public feared a common enemy. In the early 1890s, it was big business. As businesses grew, a few dominated entire industries. People were afraid that these big businesses would destroy competition, therefore eliminating small businesses, and would then obtain unfair political influence because of their size. In the early 1950s, it was communism. This was the era of Senator Joseph McCarthy and the Red Menace. People were seeing a communist around every corner, and many lost their livelihoods because of the so-called Red Scare. Then conspiracy theories seemed to drop off. Professor Usinski says that if we feel like we're hearing about conspiracy theories more than ever, one reason might be found in leadership. He claims that what's different about today is the rise of Donald Trump, who is a conspiracy theorist. Some of the conspiracy theorists that Trump has suggested are that the father of Ted Cruz helped to assassinate President John F. Kennedy, that Democrats funded a migrant caravan traveling from Honduras to the U.S., that Barack Obama's birth certificate was a fake, and that Biden and Obama staged the killing of Osama bin Laden with a body double. Historically, conspiracy theories are embraced by groups that are not in power. Professor Usinski thinks Trump uses conspiracy rhetoric to keep his base engaged, and because of this, everyone else is hearing more about these theories, too. Even a theory with few believers can result in media attention. In addition, social media helps to make conspiracy theories more visible to us. Professor Usinski doesn't think that this greater visibility leads to more people believing in conspiracy theories. This take surprised me, to be honest, as some researchers claim that the more one is exposed to conspiracy theories, the more likely we are to embrace them. So according to Professor Usinski, even though conspiracy theories have more avenues to be spread, it doesn't necessarily mean more people believe them. In his 2014 book, American Conspiracy Theories, Professor Usinski conducted a poll of more than 2,000 Floridians, asking if they believed that the government controlled catastrophic weather events such as hurricanes. 14% yes, and another 18% weren't sure. Quite frankly, a government that can't solve the problem of funding Social Security wouldn't be remotely capable of controlling the weather. But that's just me. Research findings by Australian psychologist Stephen Lewandowski, published in 2013 in Psychological Science, suggest that events happening worldwide are driving emotions that make people more willing to believe in conspiracies. These feelings of anxiety make people think more conspiratorially. Such feelings, along with a sense of disenfranchisement, currently grip many Americans, according to surveys. In such situations, a conspiracy theory can provide comfort by identifying a convenient scapegoat and thereby making the world seem more straightforward and controllable. Lewandowski maintains that people think if the bad guys weren't there, then everything would be just fine. But if you don't believe in a conspiracy theory, then you just have to admit to yourself that bad things can happen randomly to good people. In May 2018, the American Psychiatric Association released the results of a survey which said that 39% of Americans felt more anxious than they did a year before. The survey covered health, safety, finances, politics, and relationships. A 2017 report found that 63% of Americans were extremely worried about the future of the nation. A 2018 Pew Research Study survey found that the majority of both Democrats and Republicans felt that their side in politics had been losing in recent years on issues that they found important. Feeling alienated or unwanted also seems to make conspiracy theories more attractive, according to a 2017 Princeton study. In a 2018 study, researchers at the University of Minnesota and Lehigh University surveyed more than 3,000 Americans. They found that participants who felt that American values were eroding were more likely than others to agree with conspiracies and tended to believe that many major events are caused by the actions of a small group of influential people. Professor Usinski and his colleagues have shown that people who dislike the political party in power are more inclined to see conspiracies than those who support the party in power. So if you believe that it is the party that you don't belong to that's the only one putting out those crazy conspiracy theories, think again. Believing in conspiracy theories can cause people to behave in a way that increases their sense of powerlessness. Then they feel even worse than they did in the first place. A 2014 study found that people who are presented with conspiracy theories about climate change, or scientists or just changing grant money, for instance, are less likely to vote. A 2017 study reported that believing in work-related conspiracies, such as the idea that managers make decisions to protect their own interests, causes individuals to feel less committed to their job. It then becomes a cycle of inaction and negative behavior. Anyone may be susceptible to conspiracy theories, given the right circumstances, but we're not all equally suspicious. I'm sure you don't find this surprising. Some of the characteristics that can make a person more likely to believe in a conspiracy theory are paranoid or suspicious thinking, low trust in others, and a strong need to feel special. We all like to feel special, to feel unique. Remember, we're all snowflakes. There's only one of us in the entire universe. Well, some people believe this more than others, and the higher the need to feel special, the more likely a person is to believe in conspiracy theories. This is seen in people that feel that they have information that no one else has. This is the thrill of being someone who knows the big secret, and you poor deluded fool, you don't. This may explain the rise in QAnon, an organization that plays on people's fears, where Donald Trump is a secret agent that is fighting to save the world. Then there's Machiavellianism. These people manipulate others and practice deceit to get what they want. They believe that others are there only to serve them. Believing that the world is a dangerous place can also cause people to see a conspiracy around every corner. People who believe in conspiracy theories are more likely to see patterns in random events, such as a series of coin tosses. This is called illusory pattern perception, seeing patterns that just aren't there. It's not that looking for patterns in things that happen isn't helpful, it is. But looking for patterns in events that aren't related is, then there's a problem. The jumping to conclusion bias indicates a tendency of a person to make up one's mind about things quickly, often with very little evidence. People with this bias are more likely to endorse conspiracy theories. Then there is the amount of time that you are exposed to a particular conspiracy theory. If you're exposed to something enough, things will get to you if you're repeatedly introduced to them. Social media plays a significant role in getting these theories in front of the people who might be susceptible to them. Conspiracy theories about the coronavirus vaccine are an example. When we spent more time at home and online during the pandemic, we became inundated with all kinds of conspiracy theories. Anyone with even the slightest tendency to this kind of thinking would be vulnerable. Researchers have found that people with lower levels of education tend to be drawn to conspiracy theories because they don't have the tools to help them differentiate between good sources and bad sources. It's not that people who believe in conspiracy theories aren't looking for knowledge. They are. They're just not looking in the right places for it. People who tend to be more narcissistic tend to believe in conspiracy theories. The narcissist tends to be self-centered, lack empathy, and have a need for attention and recognition. They believe they're in possession of information that other people don't have and have a strong need to feel special. The older a person is, the less likely they are to believe in conspiracy theories. I really was surprised by this. I thought it would be the other way around. And of course, there's social media. Conspiracy theorists tend to get more of their information primarily from social media than from any other source. So are you a conspiracy theorist? Keep in mind that personality traits affecting your personal beliefs is a complicated subject that is still being researched by psychologists. You don't have to have all of these characteristics to fall for a conspiracy theory. I have fallen for one, actually. I'm not telling you what it is. That's my secret, and I'm taking it to the grave. Everyone can be susceptible to conspiracy theories at one time or another. People have always believed in conspiracy theories, and that may not be a bad thing. Being suspicious about the actions of others is in some ways beneficial and can protect you from making unfortunate decisions. After all, we don't want to trust any rando that we meet. Being suspicious of others is just the way we're wired to protect ourselves. However, sometimes the belief in conspiracy theories can lead to tragic results. The belief that the coronavirus pandemic was a hoax designed to prevent the re-election of Donald Trump has caused some Americans to ignore public health recommendations, which could cost lives. Robert Bowers, the gunman who shot and killed 11 people and injured 6 others in a Pittsburgh synagogue in October 2018, justified his attack by claiming that Jewish people were supporting illegal immigrants. In 2016, a conspiracy theory started on the internet that Hillary Clinton, along with other high-level Democrats, were part of a child sex ring at Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C. Edgar Madison Welch, a North Carolina native, spent 3 days reading about his conspiracy theory and watching videos, then came to Washington, D.C. to investigate. Welch entered the pizzeria where children were present and started his investigation. The occupants fled, but an employee returned later, and Welch pointed a gun at him. The employee ran for his life. Welch fired through a lock on the door of a closet with an assault weapon. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Conspiracy theories can promote dangerous behavior, as with the Pittsburgh shootings and the pizzeria attack, but the theories need not involve weapons to hurt people. People who believe vaccine conspiracy theories, for example, say they are less inclined to vaccinate their kids, which creates pockets of infectious disease, putting entire communities at risk. It may be possible to get rid of conspiracy theories, at least to some degree, by trying to combat conspiracy theories with logic and evidence. Some research has pointed to a backfire effect, the idea that refuting misinformation can just make individuals dig in their heels. The conspiracy theorist views the logic and evidence as nothing more than a cover-up. However, other research has shown that when scientists refuted a conspiracy theory by pointing out its inconsistencies, it became less of a draw to people. The researchers who first described the backfire effect said that it may arise most often when people are being challenged over ideas that define their worldview or sense of self. So if all of us are prone to conspiracy theories, what can we do to avoid falling down that rabbit hole? Here are some things we can do. Find out who is posting the information and if the source is a reputable one. Do these sources have data that has been researched? Do the authors have appropriate credentials? Is there video evidence? Practice critical thinking by questioning the information and getting the sources. Then form your own conclusions. Diversify your circle of friends and acquaintances. Hang out with people of different religions, educational levels, and political parties. We can always learn something new. Be open to other points of view. That is probably the toughest part. Here are some conspiracy theories, some which have been around a while and some which are pretty recent. To conspiracy theorists, the 1969 moon landing was supposedly fake to show that we were keeping up with the Soviet Union. At the time, America had fallen behind in the space race, so I guess this made it a fertile ground for conspiracy theories. Before you start wondering, yes, we really did land on the moon. The date was July 20th, 1969, the day after my birthday. It was pretty exciting, and something that I believe America needed after the turmoil of the 60s, which unfortunately included 3 assassinations: JFK in Dallas, his brother Robert F. Kennedy in Los Angeles when he was campaigning for the 1968 presidential nomination, and Martin Luther King in Memphis in 1968. There was a movie called Capricorn 1 back in 1977, which was about a U.S. mission to Mars that had to be scrapped, which caused a giant cover-up. I saw this movie when it came out. One of the stars was O.J. Simpson. For those of you too young to remember, this was when he was still considered a good citizen and had a pretty good acting career. Apparently, there are people out there that can take a great flick, twist it around, and in the process lose touch with reality. I had never heard of the Illuminati before I started researching this video. Apparently, they're running around in secret, installing world leaders, manipulating financial markets, and implanting electronic devices in everyone's brains. Perhaps the leader is Bill Gates, who is operating without Q, M, and Miss Moneypenny. And maybe, just maybe, one of those world leaders was... Could it be? Any conspiracy theory about 9/11 really bothers me. Over 3,000 people died that day, and I remember watching TV and seeing the plane crash into the towers. It was one of those moments in time where you remember where you were when it happened. At first it didn't seem real, and then it became all too real. Online commentators suggested that it was an inside job. Out of this grew all sorts of explanations about what really happened. One of the most popular conspiracy theories was that the attacks were orchestrated by the U.S. government to create a reason for invading Middle Eastern countries and seizing their oil. Then there was the explosion conspiracy theory that claims a controlled demolition brought down the Twin Towers. The evidence is overwhelming that the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001 were orchestrated by Osama bin Laden, with the planes composed of, and mostly of, Saudi hijackers. I heard this conspiracy theory after Princess Diana's death, but it seemed to either die out pretty quickly or I just wasn't paying attention. I was pretty surprised when in my research I discovered that Dodi Al-Fayed's father was promoting this and suggested that British intelligence was involved in her death. This just shows that you can have a lot of money and still promote crackpot conspiracy theories. Or it may be easier for him to believe that British intelligence was involved in the death of his son, rather than a drunk chauffeur. The subliminal advertising conspiracy theory claims subliminal messages in advertising were suggesting that you should spend all your money on whatever these advertisers were pushing. Books on this subject led to FCC hearings and have since been discredited, including several studies that were fake. In the 1980s, the subliminal message conspiracy spread to the music industry, with claims that subliminal messages were embedded in music lyrics. There is no benefit of subliminal advertising over regular advertising. If there were, I might find out how to increase my subscribers on YouTube by using subliminal messages. I buried Paul. Supposedly, this was the message you would hear if you played the Beatles song Strawberry Fields Forever backwards. Not gonna lie, I tried listening for that little piece at the end of the song on my record player, even though I didn't know how to play it backwards. The Paul is Dead conspiracy claimed that on November 9, 1966, McCartney got into an argument with the other Beatles, stormed out of the studio, and was decapitated in a car accident. To cover the whole thing up, the band hired a body double. Those conspiracy theorists were really reaching when they pointed out that McCartney was the only Beatle barefoot on the cover of Abbey Road and was also out of step with the other Beatles. This was supposed to prove that Paul was dead. One of my classmates actually believed this and cried. But she was in the 6th grade. What is the excuse for the adults? There are a ton of conspiracy theories about the Kennedy assassination, which led to hundreds of books, articles, and films. Lee Harvey Oswald being murdered at Dallas Police Headquarters, surrounded by police officers, didn't help quell those conspiracies. On top of that, Oswald's murderer, Jack Ruby, had ties to organized crime. This was a perfect cocktail for conspiracy theories to grow. The suspects included Fidel Castro's government, anti-Castro activists, organized crime, the CIA, and LBJ. It seemed that there was a never-ending list of suspects. Hey, maybe Ted Cruz's dad did kill JFK after all. The existence of aliens always seems to be a favorite topic among conspiracy theorists and skeptics alike. Hey, I'm a Trekkie. I would like to think that we would meet some extraterrestrials one day, even though I think we're not ready for it. I mean, we can't even get along with each other. Something did crash outside of Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. There is also a military installation outside of Roswell. It wouldn't be too hard to conclude that there was some kind of flight testing going on. But because the government is an organization that conspiracy theorists mistrust, it probably isn't too much of a stretch for even the most logical of conspiracy theorists to go to the next level. The changing storyline of the US government sure didn't help. But hey, look at all the money that is being made in Roswell from tourism. Barack Obama was born in 1961 in Honolulu, Hawaii, in a Honolulu hospital. And yes, Honolulu hospitals, as well as the state of Hawaii, issues birth records. When Obama began his presidential campaign in 2008, conspiracy theorists started to circulate that Obama had actually been born in Kenya, where his father is from, and since he was born in Kenya, he could not run for president. There were announcements of Obama's birth in the Honolulu newspaper, so I guess these conspiracy theorists think that the paper made that all up. There were also those educationally challenged that claimed that Hawaii was not a state in 1961, so Obama could not run for president. Obama released a copy of his birth certificate in 2008 and followed up with an original long-form document in 2011. This reduced the number of birthers, did not convince some people. Perhaps it's just me, but I don't think Obama would have had this problem if his name were Steve. Just saying. The COVID-19 pandemic spawned tons of conspiracy theories. There are the conspiracies about the origin of the virus. Some people even believe doctors are lying about COVID-related deaths, blaming the virus for deaths that really had other causes. A distrust of big pharma as well as big government magnifies this. One really weird COVID conspiracy is the COVID 5G conspiracy. The followers of this conspiracy believe that electromagnetic frequencies from cell phone towers depress the immune system, causing people to more easily contract COVID. Another conspiracy theory claims that the COVID-19 vaccines contain tracking chips that connect to 5G networks so that the government, or possibly billionaire and vaccine philanthropist Bill Gates, can track everyone's movements. Some people seem to have an elevated belief of their own importance. I can hardly believe that there are flat earthers still out there, but well, even the ancient Greeks knew that the earth wasn't flat. Flat earth conspiracy theories first popped up in the 1950s and have been given a boost with the rise of social media. One of the more famous of these flat earthers is NBA star Kyrie Irving. Since the 1950s, astronauts have gone into space and have seen the earth with their own eyes. And it's not flat. The idea that the US government is run by a bunch of reptilians is pretty weird. But believe it or not, there are people out there that believe it. Go ahead and laugh along with me. But as with other conspiracy theories, this can result in harm to others. For example, Anthony Quinn Warner, a man who detonated a bomb in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, believed that powerful politicians and Hollywood figures are actually reptiles who have extraterrestrial origins and are taking over society disguised as humans. British conspiracy theorist David Icke has been a key spreader of the reptilian shapeshifters' control of the world conspiracy. With the death of Queen Elizabeth II in September of 2022, Facebook flagged and removed multiple posts after the Queen's death, calling the monarch a reptile and linking to strange videos, claiming the entire royal family is reptilian. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to give us reptilian shapeshifters some love.